I'm here today at the TVLine studios in New York with Emily Osment from Georgie and Mandy. Emily, thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's dive into the finale.
Well, he was also my boss when I worked in San Antonio.
Wait, Scott?
Yes.
Is Georgie okay with that?
Well, I haven't told him yet.
In your first episode, when you first started on Young Sheldon, it was established that Mandy had just relocated from San Antonio. She had a bad breakup with her boss.
Why'd you leave?
The station manager and I broke up. But now his new girlfriend gets to be on TV at 8:30. That bitch.
Circle to now,
Right.
Georgie and Mandy were sort of picking up that thread.
I always liked Scott.
I know.
He was good for you. He went to Duke. His parents were rich.
I know.
Did you ever expect that we'd sort of circle back to that origin story and introduce her ex?
No, but I was also just very excited when we decided to introduce her back into doing the weather, because I thought that could be an option. But no, I mean, that was a surprise to me too. And I actually had to ask Steve Holland and Steve Milaro, our executive producers and creators, like, is this the same boss from before that we mentioned like years and years ago? Whenever that was, we had to go back and watch the episode. It's like, yeah, that's the same guy. So yeah, it's been a minute.
The audience has to feel like there is some sort of lingering connection between Mandy and Scott for him to be any sort of viable threat. I'm curious what it was like developing that dynamic with Chris.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we're so lucky to have Mark Sandrowski, our longtime director who did hundreds of episodes of The Big Bang Theory. And so he's a really great resource for us when it comes to finding that balance of how much do we want to tease that these two really had real feelings for each other, and is that still there? And there is definitely a moment in the finale where they hug each other and there's a little bit of tension. And yeah, that made me nervous too. So I was like, no, but we love Georgie.
Let's talk a bit about that moment in Scott's office. There's the hug, there's the lingering stare.
Yeah.
Scott clearly has some residual feelings. What do you think Mandy makes of that moment? Does she think that she might have some feelings, or is she just sort of clocking that Scott might still have some sort of affection?
I think Mandy is a very excitable person, and I think she probably just got caught up in the moment. But I think it is a little bit of a telling sign that he didn't tell his fiance about her. It's interesting the way they are keeping secrets from people. I think they have to really have a brutally honest conversation with each other. I mean, that conversation they have in the office isn't really all that truthful. They're still kind of avoiding some stuff. I hope there's a storyline where Mandy meets his fiance too.
Mandy is reluctant to tell Georgie that Scott's her boss again. Why do you think that is? Is she just avoiding an awkward conversation, or do you think there's something deeper there? Maybe she doesn't think that her marriage is strong enough to sort of endure this.
There's a part of Mandy that maybe just didn't want to have an argument. There's a part of her that knows that her husband is 20 and maybe couldn't handle that. He's barely, an adult, and he may not take it very well.
Over the course of season 1, we've seen Audrey really warm to Georgie. I think to a point, yeah. She doesn't necessarily approve of this marriage. She's definitely got her qualms, but she's definitely gained some respect for him over the back half of season 1. I bring this up because you have a really great scene with Rachel in part 1 of the finale.
I was so sad when he dumped you. Well, if he hadn't, I never would have met Georgie. That has crossed my mind as well.
Did that conversation help inform your perspective of Mandy's ex?
I do love that scene, and I think the way that it's written is great because Audrey is just being a mom. She wants her daughter to be secure. She wants her daughter to be taken care of. And there was this older man who had a nice career, who had a very wealthy family, and she didn't have to worry about her daughter anymore. And now her daughter is in a relationship with a much younger man whose career is a little bit up in the air, and they're raising a young child together, and that makes her nervous. So I think as a mother, that was something that was easy for her to look at and say, oh, this is what I want for my daughter. But I also know that she loves Georgie, and Georgie is got a lot of years to go when it comes to becoming the man that he ends up being, Dr. Tire King of Texas.
Sell the store to me.
You kidding, right?
Dead serious. I'll buy it.
With what money?
That's my problem. Just tell me what Fagenbacher offered so I can match it.
Let's talk a bit about Georgie's role in the finale. He makes the decision without Mandy that he wants to purchase the shop. As soon as Mandy suggests that this would put them in an insurmountable debt, he fires back about the credit card debt that we touched on earlier in season 1. Is that financial pressure and that distrust perhaps even a greater obstacle in this first marriage?
Trust is number one. And the largest things people fight about in a marriage is trust and money. And so we're dealing with both of those right now. And then there's this other layer, which is that she's been keeping a secret from him. So we have 3 back-to-back things that could potentially put a wrench into their marriage. And we see in season 2 whether they can stick it out.
Mandy obviously knows, she thinks, that Georgie is a great salesman. But how much does she really trust this? And you brought up his age, he's 20 years old. How much do you think she trusts that he can actually keep the family business afloat?
I think she's still waiting to see whether Georgie can keep this going, because he's a salesman at heart, absolutely, but he's also young, and he might be a little too big for his britches in some of these decisions that he's making. So we'll see if he can keep his stride going.
Steve Holland told me just last week that the title, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, it is not going to just be a wink and a nod. How would you, at this point, characterize the state of their union at the end of season 1 as we're heading into the second year?
I love the way season 1 ends. I love that it's them together in the kitchen, realizing that they have a lot of stuff to talk about and they have a lot of problems to fix, but that they really love each other. And I think it would be easy to go out with a big argument, but instead they come together and they're honest with each other. And to me, it seems like they're willing to work it out.
Beyond Mandy's career flourishing in season 2, what's on your wish list for her in the next 22 episodes?
I'd love to see them get their own space. I know that would change the dynamic of our ensemble cast, but I would love to see what it would be like if they are trying to do this on their own and how difficult that would be. And difficult is funny.